Okay, I was just experiencing some technical issues. All right. So I believe we are live. Good evening, everybody. My name is Clantis, as you can see on the screen. So I decided to come on a live stream today because, boy, am I getting a lot of questions from you guys on my Instagram DM. If you are not following me on Instagram, even though I do crazy things there, there's nothing to do with my channel. I do like reaction videos. Sometimes I would do skits, just try to relax and stuff like that. But many of you have also used it as a gateway to me whenever you want to ask something regarding YouTube or regarding the case that we are currently being grappled by, which I think it was Thabo Bester saga, but now it's no longer Thabo Bester saga alone, but it's also Dr. Nandipha Magudumana saga. We need to give her flowers for that one because, man, this woman has us all talking and everybody's getting emotional about how she's doing her things to us. And I think we haven't seen anything yet. But, anyways, I want to address three questions that kept creeping up in my DMs. The first one was why you're so interested in this case and what makes you think you are right when you are doing these videos. Okay, let me address this. So, I'm not one who just rolls over and play dead and become an inactive citizen. I pay taxes and part of my taxes go to the criminal justice system of this country. Secondly, the criminal law of this country, including the constitutional law, it's a policy that I'm also a part of, as much as you are also as a South African citizen, because these are the policies that as a nation we agreed on. Yes, we may not have been born then when these laws were created, because some of the laws that we are using currently, before I even go there, South Africa is a constitutional democracy, meaning that the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa reigns supreme. Anything invalid that is not according to the Constitution of this country, it is invalid. I think that is in Section 2 of the Constitution. Now, prior to the constitutional democracy, South Africa used to use what you call common law or English law or English Dutch law. And in the current dispensation, that law does not necessarily work. It has to be established through constitutional means in order to come to some kind of a conclusion regarding the accused and also the public themselves. So I do what I do because I'm part of the public. So if you have ever been to a criminal court before, if you go to a court, whether it's a magistrate's court or a high court or even the constitutional court, including the Supreme Court of Appeal, you would see that you have the judge sitting up there, and then there'll be a space between the judge and where the lawyers sit. Just right behind the lawyers, you'll see a dock. The docket is where the accused will be lined up or will be when they are hearing their case. And then right behind the accused or the dock, you have a public gallery, meaning that in a criminal court, it is open for the public to come into the court and listen to whatever is going on. That also includes the victims' families. They can come there and listen to the case. People of the public, they can also go there if they are interested in that particular case. So now, me, because I work, I have a 9 to 5. I don't have the time. Plus, Bloemfontein is hundreds of kilometers away from me. So what do? I rely heavily on the what do you call the media broadcasts of this trial. So while I'm busy working at work, at the same time, I'm listening to what procedures are going on in the court. Now, I'm as good as being in the public gallery when I am listening to the media broadcast, whether it's SABC, ENCA, Newsroom Africa, or whatever the case is. I'm part of the gallery. So, as part of the gallery, I also can form my own opinions. I can make my own predictions. I can come up I can turn into a whole lawyer who's never been to law school, because at the end of the day, we got this thing called a brain. And your brain, once starts to get stimulated by things that it's getting, it's gonna start analyzing. Hence, I do what I do. And I've said this before. I represent self-appointed the public gallery. And because in the public gallery, even though we're not allowed to talk to each other, we can look at each other and say, "Ooh, did you hear what the lawyer said? Oh, did you hear what the accused said?" And we can have some kind of reaction, whether it's anger or mesmerization or whatever the case might be. We represent the public gallery. So that is why I do what I do. It's not because I think I'm clever, not because I think I have some sort of authority over everything that is taking place. I'm just being an active citizen who is interested in a case where a crime was committed, not only to the Berengs, not only to the other bodies, and goodness knows how many other bodies allegedly that were stolen by Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and Thabo Bester. And we don't know how much money have they made in claiming insurance or life insurance out of those bodies. We don't even know if it's an industry or a whole industry of this. And we would like to know as a public, by them being dragged to court and able to expose what is going on. How did they get involved? How did they find out about who is involved in all those things? And all these questions that we are asking is because we are the public gallery. And sometimes the public gallery might not necessarily understand the procedures that are going in court. So I took the liberty of saying, hey, let me learn more about what is going on, what the law says, how the law operates, why these lawyers are saying this and why that. And then I put it and compile it into a video, and I come before you and I say, okay, guys, here I am going to say it in the most simplest of terms. This is what had happened in court, and these are my predictions thereafter. So that is why I do what I do. It's not because I think I'm intellectually superior. No, not at all. Because there are people who know these procedures and they went to law school for these for this, and they feel that they should feel free to come into my comment sections or my DMs and correct me here and there and there. And thus far, I've had like lawyers saying, "Oh, okay, let me correct you here," and they've been so polite and so mature about it, and I've appreciated that. So that is why I do what I do. I just represent the public gallery. And the second question that I was asked, this one was so common. I think because of Dr. Nandipha Magudumana being represented by Senior Advocate Anton Katz, they saw the gallery, or where the lawyers sit. They saw majority being white people, and they were asking, why are there so many white people that are representing Dr. Nandipha Magudumana? So when you go to a lawyer's office, let's say you find yourself in some kind of legal trouble and you want to get out. So, of course, you approach a lawyer's office and then you consult with the lawyer and then you tell the lawyer or whatever it is that you're being accused of, and all that stuff. And then you ask for representation, and then you pay a consultation fee, and then you pay this sort of fee and that fee, which your lawyer is going to tell you. And if, of course, the first thing that you're going to do, you get arrested. After getting arrested, you go to the magistrate's court. The magistrate's court, and then you are I've been looking at the long lens. Why I've been looking there when I'm supposed to be looking? Okay, anyways, excuse me. Then you go to apply for bail. All this is taking place at the magistrate's court. And then from the magistrate's court, you are represented by the lawyers that you had approached. If the matter is a heavy matter, like let's say murder, or the matter is the R word, then it's going at some point it's going to go to the high court. So the high court, the lawyers that you had approached do not necessarily appear before the high court. So the people that appears in the high court are advocates. Now, what your lawyer will do will sit down and look at, number one, Yes, money does play a factor, I believe. If you are a wealthy person, then you're going to get the best of the best. If you are an ordinary person, just like the rest of us, then they're just going to pick anybody to represent you in the High Court. So let's say now in Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's case, she's got money, she's a doctor, and she wants to get out. So what your lawyers are going to do, they're going to sit down and look at the best of the best legal brains in South Africa who can appear probably in all the high courts in South Africa. And in most cases, now this, what I'm going to say, guys, may upset you, but it's a fact. I'm sorry to tell you this. It's a fact. White people, particularly Afrikaners and Jewish people, are good at law anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. If a rich person is in trouble with the law, the first thing they will instruct their people will be, hey, get me a Jewish lawyer. Jewish lawyers are like the thing. Anton Katz is a Jew. Anton Katz is a Jew. That other guy who was representing the police and NPA, he's also a Jew. The only Afrikaner was the one that was representing Home Affairs. So now, if you look at Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's lawyers, they are black. They own a black law firm. Now, who hired Katz? It is Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's black lawyers. Why? Because they wanted the best legal brain. And they know every black lawyer in this country knows that akudlalelwa kuma-Jews when it comes to law. Akudlalelwa emabhunwini when it comes to law. Those guys are good at it. So that is why you were seeing a lot of white people in that courtroom on Thursday. So that's just that. And I think that I also wanted to say, just to piggyback on this one, just because somebody says I'm a lawyer does not necessarily mean that they will win you a case. Because let's be honest, some of our people, when you approach them and you go, you see whatever attorneys, and then you think in good faith that these people are going to help me win this case. Some of them will okay, they'll take your consultation and you pay them a fee, and then they take your file and put it away. And then they just look at when your court date is set. On the morning of your court date, that is only they will take your file, and then while they're going to court reading the notes or the statements on the consultation. And then when they get to court, then they fumble. But when you go to some law firms, like, again, I'm sorry to tell you, this is the truth. If you go to a white law firm, the moment you leave, they already have other, like from what do you call this, candidate attorneys, all the way to junior associates. They are assigned different parts of this case. You are going to do case law this, you are going to be drafting, you are going to be doing this, and you're going to be researching this, all that sort of stuff. And they become a team. And they sit down in a boardroom and then they construct your case. So sometimes just because somebody or our people, when they are lawyers, that does not necessarily mean that I'm not decampaigning anybody. I'm just letting you know. I think the best way to find out if you really want to be represented by black people, ask them what is what's their ratio in losing and winning cases. If they say I lose 50% of cases and I win 50% cases per year, then you can make a decision. If they say I win 80%, of course, those are the type of lawyers you should take, because clearly they are better performers, versus somebody will say, this year, so far, it's June, I've only won 2 cases out of 10, run away. I think that's the best advice I can give you when you're approaching a lawyer, rather than having a chest pain when you're seeing a bunch of white lawyers representing a black client. If you look at politicians, we've seen Jacob Zuma's lawyers have been white people, not only just white people, they're other Afrikaner or Jews. That's because these people are good at it. And I know, again, I'm just going to say it out. It's a fact. Sorry, it's a fact. So like I said, your lawyer, when you approach, they will then take your consultation, and then they brief a senior advocate or an advocate who's going to then represent you in high court and all that sort of stuff. So that's exactly what Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's attorneys, who are black, they briefed Katz, and Katz took the matter and then represented Dr. Magudumana on Thursday. And boy, did he do a good job. I think he did an excellent job in exposing how inept our government is. And I keep saying this, it looks as though South Africans are on their own for real. And it is now election season. And the reason I think why they fumbled so hard was because they wanted to prove to us that they are still capable of governing post 2024. I don't know. That's what I am now realizing after listening to Katz on Thursday. He was exposing so many errors in this matter. But anyways, let's get into the matter. But before I get to the matter, let me go to the chats and see. I see Victoria's Sisters, Sesfigi Latina, Bone that was Wozanonke. What with all is Cats of the Cats Commission? Yeah, I think so. Yes. That's the Cats. Definitely, that's the Cats. So let's go to what had happened this week, or so this happened this week. So please do let me know if you want this to be something that we do on every Saturdays, because I am also going to be doing the Senzo Mayiwa case. And if you ask me, how do I feel about the Senzo Mayiwa case? I will tell you something that's going to break your heart. I don't think this matter is going anywhere. At some point, you see, by now in the US, Senzo Mayiwa's case would be a mistrial. But what is a mistrial? Let me just Google it for you, and so I can read it. But it's a system that's usually used in the US. I've never heard of it being used here in South Africa. It's either an accused gets acquitted in South Africa, or they go all the way until they find them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But in the US, a mistrial occurs when the facts and evidence in play no longer enable a verdict of guilty or not guilty. So we know that the people that are that are accused of killing Senzo Mayiwa, those are just people who were picked up on the streets. That's just the fact. It's a fact. I'm not even going to say allegedly, because all these years where have they been? Think about it. And this to me scares me as a man in South Africa, that if another case like Senzo Mayiwa had to occur, that means me, I'm just walking down the streets. If I look a little bit raggedy, or I look a little bit like he's giving him, and the next thing I find myself sitting in the dock, accused of murdering a person I've never even met. First of all, probably I'm not even a criminal. I've never even murdered a fly. Because it looks like this is what these police are doing. Because we've seen our police, they are inept. I don't know who trains them, where are they trained, and why they are not vetted before they graduate. Because it looks like if a heinous crime happens to you, who was born, one of the subscribers told me a heartbreaking story about her son who was knocked down by a drunkard. And the person was caught, but the court dismissed the case because there were no witnesses. But his blood says that he is drunk. Is that not evidence enough? Why the investigating officer when arrived on the scene, did not take his blood sample and then waited for alcohol. You see things like that. Like, what on earth is going on? But if it's a high profile matter, or a matter that turns into a high profile matter, none of us are safe. As long as you're a man in this country and you don't look some particular way, you're going to be thrown in jail and possibly even get convicted for a crime you did not commit. So when I look at those men in there, no, I don't believe those are the men that killed Senzo Meiwa. The people that know who killed Senzo Meiwa is the 7 people that were present in that house in Fosloras in 2014. Those are the only people that know. And they are protecting somebody. That they know they are protecting somebody. There is no way that those men that are sitting in that dock are the ones that killed Senzo Meiwa. No way. So we also saw the same thing happening with AKA's killers. Some random guys picked up on the streets and they say, yep, here they are. We present the killers of AKA. And where did that end up? An egg on the Minister of Police's face. So this is very scary. It's very scary because now they're just going to be picking it because they know they don't have capacity is there, capability is not present. No, we need to overhaul. Somebody says, let's start from scratch. I think I'm there as well. Let's overhaul the criminal justice system. And let's, again, if we overhaul this, in the meantime, what happens? What happens in the meantime? Let me go back to the chats. Auxiliary nurse says, what scares me is that these people can just buy someone to go to prison on their behalf. Like, what is that? That's so true. That is so true. And I have a sneaky suspicion with this Dr. Nandipha Magudumana case that somebody is being protected. That is why they botched the system. Procedures were botched because if Dr. Nandipha Magudumana walks free, that person is safe. Whoever that person is, that person is safe. We will never know who let Thabo Bester out. We will never know who Thabo Bester is working with. We'll never know. But somebody up there knows, and they're doing everything they can to protect that individual. Hence, what we were hearing from Anton Katz was shocking. I was like, this guy makes a whole lot of sense. I believe everything that he said. But my only issue with him is that he did not touch on urgency. If he did touch on urgency, he just scratched the surface. Because if he was going to address the urgency, he should have told the court why Dr. Nandipha Magudumana abandoned or parked her right to apply for bail. Because that is her constitutional right. It's a fundamental constitutional right to be free. And then when she's free, she's able then to prepare her defense. But she decided that, no, I'm just going to park it, but that doesn't mean I'm not coming back to apply for bail. But first, let me go to a civil court and challenge my arrest in Tanzania. So, very smart, I must say. Very, very, very smart. And of course, I still believe that. Oh, yeah, the other thing that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana should have also presented in court is that on her first appearance at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, why didn't she put it to the magistrate? Remember Thabo Bester? He wanted to address the court. That's what Dr. Nandipha Magudumana should have done it too. Through her lawyer, she should have said, excuse me, I have a very pressing question that I'd like to ask about my arrest in Tanzania. Bring that to the attention of the magistrate. By now, everybody can now see that the magistrate is a very astute. I think that guy is so smart. Every time I looked at him, I was like, you're probably one of those smart, quiet law students that probably people undermined. And every time your assignments, transcripts were read out, you were on top of the list as the highest performers because that guy, he is intelligent. And I think Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and her lawyers may, excuse me, may have underestimated him. So that is why they decided, hey, let's have an idea, a strategy that we're going to bring back to this lower court from the high court, depending on what the high court is going to say, because they know that the high court is going to go in one or two ways or both. And I think they know they're going to lose this one. They know they are going to lose the urgent application. That is why urgency was not touched. Why Dr. Nandipha Magudumana did not bring this to the attention of the magistrate. And Dr. Nandipha Magudumana also knew that she was not going to get bail because she was a flight risk. She was already brought back from Tanzania. So now, how do we minimize that? Go to the civil court, fight for your liberty that it was unlawfully violated, and then whatever the court decides up there, then you bring it down to the magistrate's court. So whether she wins or loses on Monday, it still plays in her favor. Either way, this is going to play in her favor because, okay, let's say she wins. If she wins, that means that entire process, what she's going through in the magistrate's court in Bloemfontein, is nullified. That means all these criminal charges against her, defeating the ends of justice, violating a body, fraud, and all that other stuff that she's charged with, all go away. And even if she is rearrested, she's still going to walk after her trial. She will be found not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt because she's going to use all of these processes that were thrown on her to her advantage. So if she loses on Monday, she will still go back to the magistrate's court and apply for bail. But I think if she loses, I think the judge is going to open a door for her to appeal the matter with a comment or comments about the errors that the police, Home Affairs, and the MPA made when they brought Dr. Nandipha Magudumana from Tanzania. So that opens a door for her to take the matter either on review, gets a full bench. Full bench in the High Court is 3 judges. If the 3 judges say, no, we still find you, we still uphold the previous judgment, then she can go to the Supreme Court of Appeal. That's 9 justices. And then if the Supreme Court of Appeal says, no, we uphold the lower court's decision, then she can take the matter to the Constitutional Court. And by the time she gets to the Constitutional Court, guess what? It will be 3 or 4 or 5 years later. So do you see how this woman, she has us here. All of us, she has us here. So these applications, she will keep making them. She will keep making them and frustrate all of us. All of us. So either way, she wins. Whether the judge will say, what do you call this? He dismisses the application. She wins still because she can appeal and keep us all for years in court. If the judge says rules it in her favor, then she goes down to the what do you call this, to the lower court and say, well, you know the drill. Let me go. And of course, the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court will have no any other choice but to strike off all charges against her. And if they rearrest her, she can still apply for bail. And then if you say, no, she's a flight risk, like, wait a minute. The High Court said that process was illegal. So I'm no flight risk. And guess what that court is going to do? Will grant her bail. I'm so sorry to tell you this, guys, but that is what I foresee. That is what is going to happen. Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and her lawyers, that is why she was a little bit miserable in her first two appearances. Did you see her third appearances? Um, like, everybody was like, okay, and then what happened? You myself was like, she has an ace up her sleeve, and then boom, here we are today. Okay, let me catch up with the live chats, and then we'll continue. You see, I even gotten ahead of myself. Okay, I think okay. Now I remember I have to pin the comments. Okay, Walk with Or says, I don't think we'll ever see the end of the Senzo Mayweather. Now, at some point, it will come to an end. At some point, either there'll be an acquittal of those gentlemen. If it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that it is them, then they will be convicted. And then we have Mrs. Deadlust. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes with names, I think I've already made that disclaimer before. Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Hey, yeah, welcome. You are highly welcome. You are never too late here. And if you want to catch up on everything I've said thus far, you can always watch the replay. And guys, please do leave me a like. It's also important for this live. Wako also says, my question is, whose money is it that is sitting in Thabo Bester's name in the bank? I don't think it is his. That sounds like washed money. Highly possible, but I think, my suspicion is that there is something that rich people are doing. And I don't think Thabo Bester is the only prisoner that holds so much money. Now, remember, with some criminals, like politicians, in order for them, for money not to be traced to them, you need to find. This is a conspiracy theory. I'm not saying it's true. This is a conspiracy theory. Chances are, in order for paper trail not to follow them, they go into a prison and find a prisoner that they will ship all this money to. And then they only come to that prisoner to make withdrawals. I think that's how Thabo Bester became powerful. 817 million rand. Where is that coming from? Because I don't believe what you call his companies, 21st Century Media or Arum or whatever others that he was owing, could build him all that amount of money. No, this is crook money. This is crook money coming from people on the outside using a prisoner. Because I even heard, okay, again, this is a conspiracy theory. I even heard that the reason why some murders in South Africa are unsolved is because some people go into the prisons and take a criminal that is serving a life sentence, bring them outside to hit on someone, and then they are taken back. And then police will be looking forever for the murderer. So how is it possible? English. Is it not possible that with money laundering, not laundering, I won't say laundering, maybe a pseudo bank account is a prisoner that's so that's no paper trail. I think they don't want paper trail. It's like brown envelope. These days, brown envelopes can be traced. So now somebody came up with the idea like, no, let's use prisoners to bank our money that we proceeds that we got from corruption. Because there is a powerful people that will lose 817 million rand if Thabo Bester goes to jail. That 817 million rand, when it's frozen, their money is frozen. That money does not belong to Thabo Bester people. Nas, something is going on, and one day it's going to be exposed. Do you think my theory is crazy? Let me know. Sometimes my brain it overworks. Um, Auxiliary nurse says the South African system protects criminals more than it does good citizens. Nah, I feel like they should make a defenseman class a thing in schools, including basic court rulings and crimes. I think back in the day they used to do that. But they used to do like mercantile. What's it called? Mercantile law or something like that. I think so. I can't remember, but there was something like that. Auxiliary nurse again says, let it be a curriculum that teaches us how to defend ourselves. You mean physically or legally? Because with this rate of criminal going free, it will be a norm. It's already a norm, unfortunately. We have a criminal justice system that is inept. Criminal justice starts with the police and then it goes through to our magistrates courts. But the magistrates courts themselves, they cannot rule on a matter where facts do not um, outweigh the defense. So facts are collected by police through evidence and statements and all of that. So if it's insufficient, of course the magistrate's court is going to let you go. That case will never see the light of day in high court. If it does make it to the high court and still evidence shows that this is not enough to convict a criminal, then they'll walk free, unfortunately. So the problem is at the initial stage. That is the policing. Wabona, what is it, President? Pres- oh, okay. I think I see what you see. And that word as well play a vital role in these politicians' lives. That's true. That's very true. What would all says? Let me pin that. I heard that too. I heard that too about prisoners being used in high crime, including hijackings. It makes sense during COVID, these crimes were high. True. That is my conspiracy theory too. So it's scary to know that somebody could walk into your house and after they've done the deed, your family will never see justice. How scary is that? What sort of a country we build we're building? Because this is scary for real. But anyways, if you look at what had happened on Monday, the 29th of May, 2023, the five co-accused of Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana appeared in court for the verdict of their bail application. And the magistrates decided, said, basically, he found that it was not in the best interest of justice to let applicant number one, two, three, and four out because they were a flight risk. Basically, he did not see any any reason why they should be let out. However, with applicant number five, which is Nastasia Janssen, he granted her a bail of 10,000 rand after saying that this is his words that the state's case against Nastasia Janssen was porous, meaning weak, weak, weak. And I still think that the magistrate was telling the state, or at least giving the state a hint, that you need to drop this one, uh, acquit this woman. There's no evidence that links her for Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and Thabo Bester. So we were happy, we celebrated because we always believed that Nastasia Janssen was an innocent woman. However, immediately after she was released, then you had the SABC, which I'm still a little bit upset with, jeopardizing her freedom. Because remember, Nastasia Janssen was given strict orders by the magistrates that she should report herself every single day between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. at the 18 police station in Bloemfontein. And then she should not interact, communicate directly or indirectly with witnesses to the case. Now, when you sit before a camera and then you are talking to people, you're not just talking to the South Africans that are listening, but you're also talking to the potential witnesses and witnesses that are going to appear in court at some stage. And you are professing your innocence, and you are also going through the systems in the prison, how they work, how you know these systems work. That could be interpreted as intimidating the witnesses. That could be interpreted as direct or indirectly communicating with the witnesses. Probably in there's a code that you are basically dropping. So I felt that was callous of the SABC in doing that. I did also saw that they removed from YouTube the 18-minute long interview, but they made it into like small snippets. But that still doesn't help. The fact that she was what you call this? She sat down in an interview can be interpreted as indirectly communicating with witnesses and potential witnesses. That's how I felt. However, at the same time, she kind of confirmed many things that we, as the public gallery, was talking about. Like, okay, maybe that interval where maybe she went for a pee or went for a smoke break or probably her supervisor sent her to do something somewhere else. And in that small interview, that's where everything took place with Thabo Bester escaping. Because we do see Thabo Bester not walking, though he's wearing a G-Force uniform. He ran across the prison courtyard with Dipulu. So all of that, when they were doing that, was she at the control room? I doubt that. The other thing that she also mentioned in the interview was the possibility of her drink being spiked. And I was like, I never thought of that. I never thought that those guys could actually have spiked her drink because she doesn't have any memory after opening for Matswara. She has no memory of what happened. Something they did. Something they definitely did to her drink. And that made sense to me. But at the same time, I'm like, ish, I hope the state is not, when she appears on the 20th, is going to use this against her and say she violated one of the orders. I just hope so. I hope they are sitting with the National Directorate of Prosecution, or NDPP, to decide that they withdraw all charges against her before the 20th of June, which I still think they will. It's just a matter of time or day. They are going to say, they'll call a press conference and say, we are letting go of Nastasia Janssen. I don't know. That's just me. Let's go back to the chats. We've never been free. Politicians sold us a dream. At this point, we are back to pre 1994 situation: high crime, killings, and now cholera. Inaptitude. But at the same time, guys, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves. All of this will not be happening if we were politically intelligent. And I don't believe that South Africans are not politically intelligent, because the moment we identify an issue, we take it to the streets. So now, what cripples us or paralyzes us when we go to the voting booth? Why do we go to the voting booth as a battered wife syndrome and say, that sound? I don't know what, I think it's Dr. Phil. I don't think it's Dr. But it sounds like Dr. That lady who says, "Is this your man?" And it's like, "Yes, this is my man." Look at him, and then she turns around and looks and like, "That is your man." She's like, "Yes, and I'm gonna stick by him. I'm gonna stick by him." That's us at the voting booth. every elections, because as a voter, I would assume that actually that's what I do mean personally. Every elections, we are going to elections in 2024. Before I go vote, me and I sit down and I do some evaluations of the past 5 years. What have I have like a checklist, and in most cases, there are only two things that I check. Everything else has a cross. As a cross. That's what makes me make a decision as to where do I take my vote. One thing that I'm not going to do is not vote. I will vote, because when you're not voting, you're still voting for the governing party. In case you didn't know, so why don't we do that? Why don't we look at ourselves and say, in the past 5 years, how has my life changed? Did it change for the good? Did it change for the better, or for the worse? And then once you've made that evaluation, then you go to the booth knowing that if it went bad, what makes you think the next 5 years will be better or will improve? Of course not, because the people that are governing you are showing you that they do not know what they're doing. So vote for somebody else. You have a list of political parties on the ballot paper. So you can't tell me that your eyes will just zoom and say, I'm gonna stick by him. And then 2 weeks later, after the elections, you're on the streets. You are crying. Hi, so and so, Mazariza. Why? You're the one who voted for them. It makes no sense to me. So I think we need to take accountability as voters. We must look at ourselves and say, there's cholera in Hammanskraal because of my vote. The unemployment rate is 32.9% because of my vote. The levels of crimes that is happening in this country is because of my vote. The entry of illegal immigrants into the country that are causing all kinds of havoc, that is my vote. We need to be honest with ourselves. That's what I think. I don't think we should exonerate ourselves with all these things that are going on. We should look at ourselves first. The only change that can happen is with us, the man in the mirror. I think I've preached enough on that one. Not to say you don't have a valid point there. You do have a valid point. We were sold a dream. I think it was a perfect dream. It's just that it was tainted with greedy people. And I still believe that our downfall in South Africa was due to floor crossing. There were people that came from other parties, crossed the floor to the governing party with their own mentality and policy positions and messed it up, resulting with the South African dream being messed up. And now it's about, if you're not going to beat them, then join them. It's a sad, sad situation for us. And both Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, Thabo Bester, the balls of being convicted to 65 years imprisonment, and you are going in and out of prison, going to Ama lodges, having conjugal visits by your married girlfriend, and not only that the correctional services were not, they were aware. It's our votes, people. It's our votes. There we go. 2024, we must do what Americans did to Trump and his party. In South Africa, in South African problem is the youth does not vote, only olders who believe. No, no, no. Let's look at it in our contexts. Let's do what we did to the apartheid government. Vote it out. Let's do to this government what we did to the apartheid government. That's it. Secondly, if you are politically educated and you have teenagers at home, You have teenagers in your neighborhood who will turn 18 and become eligible for voting in 2024. Start talking to them about the importance of voting. Put practical examples before them, like number one, you are turning 18. Do you think you will have an opportunity to go to university? Okay, let's say you are accepted into a university, you do well. Do you think when you graduate you're going to get a job under these circumstances when our economy is not creating jobs? So you need to put them in that light so that they can think that, oh wow, I'm not saying alarm them or scare them, but you are just being practical. So I think again, all of what is happening here is in our hands, us, all of us. So the government will not, yes, they will do political education. By the way, political education is part and parcel of the IEC Act. They're supposed to be already educating South. In fact, as early as last year, they're supposed to be educating South Africans about the importance of voting, but they're not doing it. Ask yourself why. Why aren't they doing it? Because they want to make these young people sit in taverns and hang out in malls while their grandparents go and vote and bring them a government that is going to do nothing for them. Because remember, their grandparents are still attached to that party, and there's nothing you can do, say, or do to them. Absolutely nothing. But I will tell you what's my biggest hope out of my research. Gen Zs are going to turn things around in South Africa and everywhere in the world, by the way. We will have a better South Africa because of the 2000s. Watch this space. Let's go back to the live chats. My goodness, my life has turned into something else. Thomas N says her relationship with Thabo Bester is finished. Her relationship with her kids compromised. Her medical career dead. Who would go to Optimum Clinic? Now her mom is sick. Her brother snitched on her. It's a mess. Pertinent questions there. Very, very important questions. Imagine 8 years in medical school. Yeah, Floor Crossing did them ANC dirty, but also ANC with their jobs for pals nonsense messed up. People got high positions they did not deserve. I mean, I have a story. Remember Umsobomv Youth Fund? So I had this great business idea when I got off high school in year 2000. I approached Umsobomvu. I presented my business plan. The mistake that I made was to leave my business plan that I did not take a copy of, because in good faith I thought this is the institution that was going to get young people to get started with small medium enterprises. Remember, SMEs used to be like this big buzzword. I wanted to participate in that, and I had a great business idea. Look at me now. Look at me now. Why? Because our country, as early as year 2000, was run by criminals. My business idea was stolen. I saw it. I'm not going to say what it was, and it's still thriving to this day. My business idea has made a fellow black person a billionaire. Yep. I'm not going to say who it is. So that's how much these people care. And I knew from then that I will never put an X next to this party ever. Even though I grew up under it. I know the principles, I know the values, the language that is spoken in my household is of that political party. And I told my parents that forget it, it's not going to happen, not for me. Not what I'm not going to do it after what they've done to me. So no. So, anyways, guys, going back to Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, again, I want to Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The other point that I wanted to mention is Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's father. Guys, I sincerely believe he had no idea what was going on. I believe this man was instructed by his daughter to go to Or Tambo International to hire a car. Probably sent him some money to pay because you need to have 5,000 Rand in your bank account in order to get, or whatever the case was. If he had money, probably he used his own. Hire a car, drive it to Bloemfontein, hand it over to a man called Sinuke Motswara, and then fly back to Johannesburg. That is what I truly believe happened. He had no idea that that vehicle or that van that he hired at Or Tambo was going to be a transport for Katlehom Bereng's body. And I don't know until I'm okay, okay. In my head, that is what makes sense. But again, I don't have the facts. I don't know. I wasn't there. But in my head, that's the only thing that I think happened. He just took instructions from his daughter and did exactly what needed to be done because his story kind of like dissipates after dropping the vehicle. What happened thereafter? I think the state itself is going with that mentality. Hence, it agreed on granting him bail, not on the basis of his age, but on the basis of the story ends here. And even the investigating officer, he cuts the story there where he hands over the Baki to Sinoga Matswari. So nothing more or nothing less is being said about that. So I think there's a at some point he too might get acquitted. I know you don't like it because many people are very angry at him because for me it makes no sense that a parent who excuse me a parent who taught you values and principles all your life. Do not kill, do not steal, do not do this. Be an upstanding person in society. Be a contributing member of society. Go to school. She went to medical school, became a doctor. And all of that teaching just get reduced to that van. To me, it just doesn't make sense. But again, we'll hear his side of the story when the trial begins. Um, the question I was also asked was, can the four can these four that would deny bail appeal their matter? Yes, this is South Africa. In South Africa, if you lose an application, you do have a right to appeal, even though a court will say you don't have a prospect of winning the appeal, still appeal anyway. Take your chance. So there's a chance that they might appeal. There's a chance that they might abandon the appellage. We don't know. Then on the 1st of June, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's urgent application was heard. And you guys, like I said, we heard things that left most of our jaw on the floor. He was just, his case, he built it around the fact that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana was in Tanzania. Whether she was there for vacation, whether she was there for whatever reason, she did not have any charges against her. And the whole point of the handover, he interpreted it that a handover is usually when two nations agree to hand over a suspect to the country they ran away from so that they can go and face justice. That's an extradition. But the defendants say no, it was a deportation from Tanzania. Now, a deportation, you don't one country does not speak to the other one. The other country just exercises its sovereignty and say, "Get out! You are an undesired alien. Leave." And Tanzania gives you 3 days after you've been declared a prohibited alien. So now, when you hand over a person, that's no longer a deportation, that is an extradition. And I agree with that because I went through the whole extradition processes, and which I'm not going to get into. Yeah, he was correct. So he says the fact that Nandipha Magudumana was brought back to South Africa by 8 personnel in that jet, she her being brought back to South Africa is unlawful because it was an extradition. That to me, I was like, whoa, this lady is winning this case. But the urgency was not presented to the court. That is why I still think she is not going to succeed in her application. However, she is going to appeal this one. She will take it all the way to the highest court in the land. Some people say she's going to go directly. I don't think she's going to go directly. She wants this to be as slow and painful as possible. So she might take it on review Supreme Court of Appeal, from Supreme Court of Appeal to the Constitutional Court. And we know these courts take months to hear a case, especially the Supreme Court of Appeal and the Constitutional Court, because in their role, they have other cases they still need to hear. And probably by the time Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's appeal is heard, is 2025 at the Supreme Court of Appeal. And if she loses there, she goes to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court role has other cases that it still needs to hear. And by the time it gets to Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's application, it's going to be 2027. She has us pinned down, people. She definitely has us pinned down. Yeah. So that is that. Basically, I'm not going to say much about what had happened in court because I already made a video. One part that also made me laugh is that the hitching a ride from Tanzania to South Africa because she needed to get back to her children. That made me laugh a little bit when the judge wanted to know that did she hitch a ride on that private jet that South African taxpayers, you and me, paid 1.4 million rand for. So I think if she's going to do this to us, she needs to pay back that 1.4 million rand. We don't give rides. No. Especially with, to someone who went voluntarily wherever she went to. But I still think that the kidnapping part, she would blame it on Thabo Bester. She'll say, no, I was kidnapped by Thabo Bester. So that's why I needed to get back to my children because I saw an opportunity to get back home. Y'all came for him. I saw a ride and I took it. That was funny. That was funny. But of course, the NPA, police, and Home Affairs said that's not true. All processes were followed and stuff like that. But I still don't think they did the right thing. Due diligence was not followed, and definitely they botched this one. And if the court does rule in her favor, which I doubt, this was deliberate. It was by design, so that they protect somebody. Yeah, being blindfolded as well. Let me pin that. Blindfolded but saps when women is full of beer. Yeah, how did she see that? How did she see that there were police there if she was blindfolded? That was hilarious as well. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. So, anyways, the verdict is going to be heard on the. I mean, the verdict is going to be delivered on the 5th of June, 2023, at 10 a.m. at the Bloemfontein High Court. I'm looking forward to that. I am looking very much forward to that. We're going to have a lot of discussions, and of course, videos upon videos are going to be delivered on this particular day. And I look forward to that. My prediction, like I said, her application is not going to succeed. She did not cover urgency. There's no urgency there. Why did she park her rights? Because that is where the crux of the urgency is. Why did she park her rights to her liberty at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court when she appeared to apply for bail? Secondly, what was the other point? Okay, I had a second point, which is along the same line of her liberty. Because she shouldn't have said, no, we'll come back another day. She should have oh yeah, why did she take long after how many appearances? She did not bring this point to the magistrate's attention, because I think this magistrate is a fair person. He would have asked the state very, very valuable questions, and probably would have ordered the state to restart the process all over again. So yeah. Um yeah, like I said, I do predict that if he denies her or dismisses her case, her application with cost, he will make a statement about the errors that the police, Home Affairs, and MPA made, and that will open doors for Dr. Nandipha Magudumana to appeal. Sometimes some courts will do that deliberately in case they are wrong in their conclusion. So they'll say, okay, take this to the higher court because from where I'm sitting, this is what I see. Maybe a higher court will see something different. And so they will make a statement that will open that door for the applicant to take it up to a higher court. I think that is going to happen. Um, in closing, do you have any questions? Do you want to have a comment before I say goodbye, or I should just say goodbye? Uh, okay, while you are busy typing away, no, guys, I just want to say thank you so very much for your support. I really appreciate the support that I'm getting from y'all and everybody that is coming through to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate that. And so far, everybody has been so great. I love how the community that we are building is so intelligent. I love intelligence. One of the things that I thrive on is intelligence. If you're an intelligent person, I got such great respect for you. Even if you are a average intelligent person, trust and believe me, never doubt yourself. As long as you can strike up some kind of logic, to me, respect. So far, I'm only seeing some really, really good, people that challenge, not exactly challenge, but stimulate my brain through their comments and the questions. And I get so excited, like, wow, I have great people. I have amazing people. And I'm so, so grateful for that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So I see that not much is coming through. Thomas says, great contact, bro. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here as well, Thomas, and everybody. Thank you. So I think I will just end it here, and please don't leave before liking the video, this live, and watch those ads. Thanks. This each other again, I guess, on Monday when the verdict of Dr. Magudumana's urgent application is delivered, and I'll once again represent the public gallery and give you my 2 cents. Bye.